Interview with Lucie Porges, January 20th, 1994, at 322 West 72nd Street in New York, her home.
Okay. You want my name first?
Your name.
My name is Lucie Porges.
What was your maiden name?
Eisenstahl, which means barre de fer. I was born in Vienna on the 23rd of November in 1926. And I stayed in Vienna until the occurrence of Hitler, which happened in 1938. To make the story short, in 1939, we just had to leave Vienna because my father was arrested, and if he hadn't left Vienna, he would have been sent to Poland. He had a choice, either leave in the next 2 weeks or being deported. It wasn't concentration camps yet, but it was being deported to Poland. So mother, of course, said, you go ahead anywhere, just go, and we'll stay here, nothing will happen to us, to me and the children. And Papa simply insisted and said, if you don't go, I don't go. We all go together. Which was the most wonderful thing that could have happened, because it permitted us, by going over all kinds of borders without visas, without papers, that we always stayed together in all kinds of different situations. Anyway, we left Vienna. We just took a little bit of hand luggage, left everything, took a train to Cologne, and stayed there for about 10 days, while my parents were looking for a passeur who could bring us over the border for money. There were millions of other people trying to do the same thing. It was in January 1939.
What city?
Cologne. I don't know how to say it in English. Cologne? Okay, Germany. We did cross the border at this point, late at night in January, and I remember mother buying us what is called now sweatsuits. I've never had that before, because we had to throw ourselves, my sister and I, on the floor, and all the people, because those big searchlights went on the border. Whenever there was a searchlight, we all threw ourselves on the floor. It was pretty cold. And we stayed in a house somewhere, and then some cars came. Anyway, it's very vague in my mind, but we arrived in Brussels around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. In Brussels, we had the sister of my mother, who had already arrived about a few months before, and that's how we started out. There were all kinds of committees opened for refugees to help us out, because we were not allowed to work in the country. Finally, of course, it wasn't enough. We used what we had. We sold jewelry, we sold everything we had to live. And then finally, my parents, I remember, sewed all night long slippers. They're still very famous. They're boucherie, they're called. They're the softest slippers. They come from Belgium. They're very expensive. And that was like unofficial work. We were not allowed to, so they worked all night sewing the slippers. Okay. We stayed there about till 1940, May 1940. I went to school with my sister, who is 4 years younger. And I learned French 1, 2, 3. We both started speaking French to each other at school and after school, and it was very easy and very fast. In
You stayed several years there without being allowed to work.
1 year. 1 year, from 1939. It seemed like a long time, it was only 1 year. Till to May 1940, when the Germans attacked Belgium. We then boarded a train, left some more of our things, we didn't have that much left, and direct to Paris. We got tickets for Paris because Mama had a brother there. My mother came from a family of 7 children, and everybody had escaped to different countries. We never arrived in Paris. The train went along to Bordeaux and all the way down to Toulouse. 4 days, and it was bombarded on the way. We didn't get out of the train, and then we finally wound up in little villages in the south of France, where we were divided in 3 villages on straw and schools. Stayed there for maybe a month or 2, I don't remember exactly. My father was taken to a concentration camp called Saint-Cyprien, where they used to hold the Spaniards, the Spanish border. And now they were putting all the German and Austrian Jewish men in there, saying they were a threat to France. finally, I went there with some other women who was, I think, 12 or 13 years old, and went to the commandant, and being that I was so young, he liberated my father. We took a train back to that little village, and from that village we went to a camp, which was near Albi. It was called Brents. That was a family camp. We had like 20 barracks, and the food was absolutely terrible, but we were not totally like in jail. We could go out every day and buy food and do things. And my mother started crocheting. She crocheted little napkins, which she went to stores to exchange for food for us. One for pâté, one for bread, one for milk. And she
Where
always,
did she get the thread for making it?
I don't know, she did get it. For some reason, she could still get it. I still have one somewhere. I just kept one. And she got, I mean, I think I ate the best pâté in this place, which was called Gaillac, of my life. I mean, you can imagine the French pâté de foie gras at this time, where you hardly had any food. I remember it was the best tasting thing. From Reims, we escaped to Lyon, because we were told that people were going to be shipped to Germany. We lived in Lyon for about a year, in a very difficult way, in a very small apartment. It was very little money. And then there was a demarcation line between, do you know that? Between the occupied France and the unoccupied France. And there were rumors that the unoccupied France would be occupied by the Germans too. So again, we took a train, and we took a passeur with some other people, and tried to go to Switzerland. We succeeded. It was very difficult. Somebody showed us the wrong way. Some people took us in, but we succeeded. We arrived in a little village close to Geneva, and they kept us. They sent a lot of people back. They sent Pepe back, and he tried again, but they kept us. And we went to a camp, and in Switzerland we lived for about, I would say, from 1942 till 1945. We were in different camps. Then I got a scholarship to study in Geneva, fashion and art.
How old are you now?
I was like 16, 17, and this is where I met Pepe. The first person I met, we had a class with modelage, and something had to be fixed on my scaffold, and the teacher asked Pepe to fix it. And he came from Vienna, I came from Vienna, so that's where we met, and that was the fatal encounter. I stayed there for about 2 or 3 months. Then for summer vacation, they sent me back to camp, and they sent Pepe back to camp. But we came back in 1946.
When you say camp, what do you mean camp?
There were camps in Switzerland, but they were like in
Children's
hotels.
camp?
No, people camps. Children, families, they were all together. We were, for instance, in a hotel in Lucerne.
But a vacation camp.
No, it wasn't a vacation
It was a
camp.
concentration.
It wasn't a concentration camp. They called it Auffanglager, which means just taking care of the people that came. Refugee camp. let's
Okay.
say. No, it was not a concentration camp by no means. My parents were in that camp too, in Lucerne. So we went back there, and we started school again in 1946. So I saw Pepe all the time in intermission and so on. We were not in all the same classes, but some of the same classes. And in 1948, Pepe got a visa from his brother for America, and Switzerland wouldn't hold him an extra minute. They wanted everybody out. So he had to leave, even though he would have loved to finish his studies, but he had to leave. And I was heartbroken. We were both totally heartbroken. It was the worst thing. And we promised each other that one day we will get married, we'll get together again. He said, I'll come back for you. So Pepe departed in 1947. I stayed in that school. I finished 3 years until 1948, and then decided to go and try my luck in Paris. My parents were back in Lyon. They couldn't stay in Switzerland either. And being that Lyon was their last stop before Switzerland, they returned to Lyon. We were sure we wouldn't stay there forever, because by that time we had an aunt in America, and we had somebody else somewhere else. We were going to join our family someplace, but in the meantime we were in Lyon. And
What was your father's profession?
My father was in textiles. He was selling textiles.
So he was a salesman.
For textiles in Austria. He worked for a very big textile. But of course, that stopped
Yeah.
after the war. Excuse me. And in Lyon, I was dying to go to Paris and really start working for the right places and the right people. I asked my father to lend me money for 2 weeks. I said, I'll try my luck. If I don't make it, I'll come back. Because my parents would like me to marry a doctor, a lawyer, and just have a family, and that's it, not a profession. So I went to Paris, and somebody gave me the address of some very nice people that lived in a hotel. And there were 3 daughters and the parents, wonderful people from Leipzig by the name of Fromm. I went to that little hotel, and it was a Friday evening, and they had an Onek Shabbat. Even they had just 2 little hotel rooms, but they took all the friends of their friends in, and they made it every Friday night. They were lovely people. And the daughters immediately took care of me, and I shared a room with one of them. And on Monday morning, I decided this is it. I had all the names of all the couture houses, Jacques Fat, Pierre Balmain. So I'm just going to go from one to the other and see what I can do. And this is what I did. And at Maguirouf, I met this charming count, Monsieur de Gramont, Philippe de Gramont. And he said, vous parlez quelques langues? Je dis oui, je parle allemand et je parle un petit peu d'anglais. Mais vous voulez travailler avec moi? Vous voulez m'aider à comment dit-on, travailler pour la presse, pour les choses. Vous pouvez m'assister avec la presse. Je dis oui, avec plaisir. Il vous faut une petite robe noire et puis commencer mardi. So I went back to those friends.
What's the name of the company?
Maggie Roof.
Spell it.
Maggyrooff. Près du rond-point des Champs-Élysées, avenue Matignon, where all those beautiful places. It was a marvelous place. It was a hotel particulier with a big garden, so elegant, so beautiful. And I needed a black dress, but I didn't have a black dress. So the 3 sisters got together. One lent me a skirt, one lent me some kind of a tunic, and here I was with my black dress, very chic, and started working. And it was very exciting because I was part of that whole thing. Of course, they had designers. They had a young designer. I still remember his name, Christian Chastel, who was very nice. I couldn't design, but I could see everything how it worked, and it was the milieu that I wanted to be. Now, out of this came wonderful things, because Philippe de Gramont, his mother, was the editor-in-chief of Femina. So he introduced me to Femina, and at some point I left Maguirouf and started doing freelance. And I went to freelance work for Femina, L'Art et la Mode, and all these magazines, which permitted
What were you
me
doing specifically?
fashion drawings, illustrations. I still have them here. I have all these magazines that I did in Paris. I worked with a friend of mine, Gigi. I sketched her, she sketched me, all kinds of marvelous poses. Then we went out with our portfolio. She got immediately some work for the Jardin des Modes. I got L'Art et la Mode and Femina. So from there on, I got lists. They sent me to all the Maisons de Couture. Now, it wasn't just one. I went to Fat, Balmain, all these places to sketch specific things. And then I worked them out at home, and they were printed in the magazine. And it was marvelous. That was not designing, but it was illustrating. But I always did both. I was interested in the art form of it, too. So that was Paris. I lived in 2 little rooms in Montparnasse, in a
Your
tiny
own
hotel,
place.
with a friend, with one of the daughters. I became very good friends with Alexandra. And we had those 2 tiny rooms on the 4th floor of the Hotel Parnasse, which was on the corner of Avenue du Maine and Rue du Cherche-Midi. And there was a bistro on the corner which was called Le Chien qui Fume. I'll never forget it. It's still there, I
It's
think.
still there, I
I think it's still there. And there I lived in those 2 tiny. I had no kitchen. I had no bathroom. I had a sink. Well, everybody in Paris lives like that, students, etc. It's very primitive.
Where did you do those essential things?
Well, I tell you something. I hardly ate anything. I ate so little that I think my stomach shrunk. some point I got very bad stomach pains. I had to see a doctor, and I had to see a therapist and do some gym because my stomach had practically gone into me instead of out. It was a very strange time. My mother used to send me presents with food, things that she baked, and some sausage and things. Otherwise, I think I ate a little bit of that.
Did they have a bathroom downstairs?
They didn't have a bathroom. I had to go to the public bath if I wanted.
A toilet downstairs?
No, the toilet was on the palier, on the same floor.
Oh.
But in those two little rooms, I only had a sink.
Hmm?
But in Paris, you used to go to a bath. You used to go to a shower.
There are many places in New York that are like that.
I don't know about that.
The bathroom's down the hall, and there's just a sink in the kitchen.
No. But you used to go to a public bath.
Right.
Because this was, everybody knew it. Every quartier had some public baths. You paid, you brought your towel, your soap, and you took a bath. Or you took a shower rather than a bath. But that was nothing unusual. So I lived in Paris, and I did this freelance work, and it was very exciting for me.
You forgot the Pepe?
No, I didn't forget. He used to write to me, and he in the meantime was here, and he couldn't leave, and he had joined the circus.
Sir.
Oh, he'll tell you about that movie. It's unbelievable. He joined the circus with a friend of his. He was supposed to be an interpreter, but that's another story. And he wound up being just doing everything for everybody. You know, like bringing beer and then to all these people who didn't speak English. But he'll tell you it's absolutely hilarious. But so Pepe was in the circus, and he kept writing me and sending me some things that he bought, like little American blouses and things. But he couldn't come back, and finally it was decided he's going to come back at such and such a time. It was by that time, it was like 1950. He had a wonderful aunt in England who was going to pay for his trip and for our wedding. She wanted us to get married in London. She loved me. She used to come to Paris. She met me, and through her, indirectly, I got to Pauline. Why? Because whenever she came to Paris, she was quite wealthy. She had fur coats, she went to a furrier, she took me out to the best places. And one day she took me along to her furrier on the Champs-Élysées. And there I saw an ad. It said, it was a beautiful jersey dress, a draped jersey dress and a draped jersey turban in pale beige on Lisa Ponsati, which was a top model. And all it said was Trigère, New York. And I saw this and I absolutely fell in love with this dress. And I said, this is the place I want to go to if I go to New York. It is the oddest thing.
This is the real story.
This is the whole story.
Very interesting.
It's very strange. I was in Paris for another year, and the Korean War started. And I could not leave. He was drafted.
He's in
He's
America.
here and he's drafted. And he cannot leave. And the only way for me to see him, to get married to him, is if I leave Paris and come to America. He sends me an affidavit, and I really had no feeling. I didn't even want to go to New York, but such it was. And I left in June 1951. These are my ticket on a small ship. It was a wonderful ship. That was a funny story too. I got on that little ship, and I had a cabin with two other women, and I put my things on one of the beds, and they started fussing with me. They said, "No, we want this bed." I said, they went to the captain. They didn't like me to have this bed. They wanted it. I don't remember the story, but the captain came and said, "Come with me." And he gave me a first-class cabin. He took me out of there, and that was just a dream. And on that ship, I met some wonderful people. I had my first whiskey that tasted awful, but it was interesting. I came to New York, and he wasn't waiting for me. He was in the army. That terrible guy wouldn't let him go. He had to wait another 2 days. So instead of him, his brother was waiting. And my best friends, Alexandra, who had shared the room with me in Paris, had married in the meantime a professor from Cambridge and moved to America to Ithaca. He taught atomic science, and she already was in America. And knowing that I come to New York, she came to New York to wait for me with her husband, which was very sweet because Philip's brother was rather unfriendly. I was very unhappy to see him. I had no feelings for him at all. From there, I went to my aunt. I had an aunt in Washington Heights, my mother's only sister. But I came at a very bad moment because my uncle had just had an operation and she had no children. She was fussing around him and about him, and I could only stay there like for one night on the couch and look for some place to stay. So Alexandra, who didn't live in New York, introduced me to one of her cousins that would come with me and look for a place. I didn't know what Harlem was, what this was. I nearly found a place on 95th Street, a room. And then the mother of one of my old friends who lived in Washington Heights found out about it and asked me to stay with her. She had enough space. She said, I will not let you stay in a room somewhere. My son is in the army. Stay with me as long as you want. And I moved in with her. It was very sweet. And started looking for work and for an appointment.
And you brought all your portfolios with you?
I brought all my portfolios with me. My portfolios were very big. I used to sketch very big. PPP stayed with me. PPP came 2 days later. He looked old. He came on an army plane. He had thrown up. His hair was in a crew cut. It was like a guy I didn't know him. I mean, it was like I hadn't seen him for 4 years. I didn't feel like getting married anymore. But when we started talking and so on and so forth, like I really didn't feel like it, but he just convinced me. And he said, well, marry me, it's okay, I still have another 2 years in the army, at least you know you're getting paid, I know you'll be all right. And I said, I don't want to go to the army post. I said, I'll try to get work, but if I don't, I'll join you. He was in Fort Benning. He was here for 10 days on leave. We got married. We spent our honeymoon at the St. George Hotel in Brooklyn. And the next day he left. Alexandra and Raphael came back to be our witnesses at City Hall. It was the hottest day. I had brought a beautiful dress for my wedding, which was a very chic taupe satin dress with short sleeves. That dress was sticking to me. I'd never experienced such a humid day in Europe.
Did you take pictures?
Unbelievable. Let it count. Nothing.
Where were you married?
City. Just sitting. Nothing. We went to Howard Johnson to eat out. It was another thing. I think I ordered something at Howard Johnson. It sounded wonderful and I got something absolutely awful. I don't remember what, but I was very disappointed. So PPP went back to the army and I started looking. And I started, first somebody tried to have me illustrate for the newspaper, but my drawings were too chic, they were not pretty. And that didn't work out. And then I tried to call Porges and I couldn't get it through. And I called again and they said after Labor Day, and I didn't know what the hell was Labor Day. That was like in July. And then one day I decided, what the hell, I'm just going to go. So I went to 57th Street, went up there. You remember that place. You were a little girl. I saw you there. Well, you must have been like 3 or 4 years old. I remember you there. And there was like a square entrance with a telephone operator, and I asked to speak to Miss Trigère. And she said, well, you need an appointment. At this point, Pauline came through, heard me speak with an accent. And she said, vous parlez français? J'ai dit, oui. Qu'est-ce que vous faites là? J'ai dit, je me trouvais du travail, j'ai vu votre nom à Paris, sur un aide. Elle a dit, bon, qu'est-ce que vous faites comme travail? Je lui ai montré. I showed her all my drawings. And she said, but can you also design? These are illustrations. I said, yes, I can. So she took me into a piece goods room, and she cut little pieces of fabric and gave them to me and said, why don't you sketch some ideas for these fabrics and bring them back to me? Fine. I took the fabrics. By that time, I forgot to tell you, I already had an apartment in 57th. A friend of mine in Paris had this apartment. A friend of hers lived there. A journalist moved to Washington, and she got me this apartment. I also had a studio there. It might have been a studio first. Anyway, it was on 57th Street. I had moved out of the study, and I lived where I wanted to live. I didn't want to live in a house with fire escapes. I hated, I was scared of the fire escapes. So that was really very nice, and it was the studio. So I made those sketches for Pauline, brought them back. I remember there was one was imprimé flowers. One was a little beige and white stripe. The first one, and something else. I can still sketch the design I did for the first one. She made it up as a matter of fact. It became an animal. It was a very simple two-piece with a bias tie in the front. She liked them. She paid me for them. I don't know, $10, $15, whatever. And she said that she had a young man working for her at this point, but there was a possibility he wasn't really what she needed, that I might get this job. Great. About a couple of days later, I walked at the corner of Tiffany's with a friend. It was like a Saturday evening, and Pauline came with somebody. We met. She said, hi. Come on Monday, you can start the job. You've got the job, start Monday.
I'm struck by how many lucky things have happened along the way in all of your stories.
Yes. You think that?
Yeah. Remarkable.
But when I think back, I think I went straight to what I wanted to do, without any deviation. I knew what I wanted to do, and I just did it, not thinking too much. Yes, no. So I started working for Pauline.
What day, what
I
year?
lived on 57th Street,
Fantastic.
1951, in August, I believe. I lived on 57 between Park and Lexington, and I worked on 57 between 6th and 5th, and I went home for lunch every day, which was exactly like living in Paris. It was wonderful. And back to work. It was great. And Pauline was very upset at that point. She was just breaking up. Now I realize with that Italian man.
Nino Bisi.
And she looked worried and upset. And to me, older than she really was, because she was upset. And she had problems with him. I don't know exactly the story, but now
They used to live together?
I don't know. But she broke up with him.
So where did she live then?
She had just moved to Park Avenue.
Did she invite you to her home?
She didn't invite me to her home, but she did invite me for weekends. She took me along to the weekends, to the Capanina in New Jersey. There was Philip, Raymond, who was Philip's friend, two little boys, young boys, Vera Bacall, Ira Koenig, Pauline. We used to go all together to the lake for the weekends.
What was the connection with Vera Bacall?
She was a very good friend.
From New York?
Yeah.
Not from Paris?
No. But they were very much of the same wavelengths. Vera Bacall was Russian and rather snob and bright and interested in everything, and a beautiful woman. And Pauline was very much interested in everything, and she took the boys and she took me. She took me under her wings. And this is how I learned how to have a beautiful house. I mean, just by looking, just by seeing, and how to cook and how to do things. I didn't know very much because I never had a real home. All these war years, I didn't have a home.
So you were like a daughter?
In a way, yeah. And she knew.
Do you think she felt that way toward you?
I think so. I think so, because she was incredible. I just told her the other day, she was so great for me. When I lived on 57th Street, in that fourth floor walk-up, and PPP was still in the army for like a year and a half, just used to come and leave.
Say that again.
It's so difficult to see her the way she's now with me and the way she reacts to me. When I think back, how terrific she was. Anyway, her first Christmas present. I come home on the fourth floor. In front of my door stands this basket from Florida with oranges and grapefruits. I say, okay, well, that's very nice. I take it in and I start taking some grapefruit out and put them in a plate. And underneath it was a fur coat. first fur coat. It was a civet cat coat. It was a beautiful coat, very full, which she had fitted on me per se for a customer, because she knew I was very cold always.
How old was she and how old were you now?
I was 27, 25, 26, something like that.
And she was...
10 years older, maybe 15 years older. I think she was 15 years old. Anyway, I found this, and that was just the most incredible present I had in my life. I took this fur coat out of that basket. It was a wonderful, it was very light. You know, civet cat, it's brown and white, it has a design. It was gorgeous. I wore it for years and years and years.
I think I remember
You
you.
probably do, because I was pregnant with Claudia. I still wore that coat. It went right. My friends used to call me Nanook of the North with that coat. And the second beautiful present she gave me, which must have been 3 or 4 years later, a white satin dress, a short dinner dress, a black coat with embroideries, space embroideries, like little mirrors and tassels all over, and in each pocket theater tickets. Now, who would give you things like that?
This is
One
interesting.
was Peter Pan and one was the Lark.
This has a certain fantasy to it that I don't see in her style anymore.
But that was so extraordinary.
It actually resembles more the kind of things that I think of my father doing.
But she was like that too. Anyway, with me,
Mm-hmm.
it was fantastic. It was like, when I think back now, it was like Pygmalion a little bit. She tried to make something at her image. I don't know.
Did she set up expectations of you
Yes.
that you think, I mean,
Yes.
like a mother-daughter relationship? What did she want from you?
I think she wanted me to be very much like her, in a way. And
Had you been very much like her, I don't think she could have
no,
stood you.
she couldn't have stood me. I think I disappointed her because, first of all, I didn't. I mean, for me, friends were different than for her. She always wanted somebody who's, yes, a friend, but also has a name and something special about them. She once told me, very blank, I told her that I saw such and such a friend. She said, but why? Why would you lose your time with her? At the same time, you could see somebody who is this and that. I was really surprised. I said, well, she's a friend. She said, but you could use this time to see somebody else and to do patati and patata, you know? And I don't feel that way once.
When did Pepe Pig came back?
He came back, yes. He came back in 53, I think.
Was he called Pepe Pig then?
Yeah, he was always called Pepe Pig because when he was a kid and left Vienna, his grandmother put 3 P's on his sweater. And all the kids that met him at that time called him Pepe Pig. And that's how it stuck. Well, anyway, to go back to... So we both lived on 57th Street, Pepe Pig and I. And I worked for Pauline, and slowly she took me along to buy fabrics, and I met Paula Stout. Paula Stout was a wonderful textile designer from Vienna, the wife of Rex Stout. Did you ever hear of Rex Stout?
Yes.
Well, his wife, she lived in Vienna, and Pauline, we went to buy fabrics to her place, and we fell in love, Paula and I. She became a very dear friend of mine all her life. She died about 10 years ago, but we were very close friends all the time. So I met her through Pauline, and then we started going to Europe in the summer to buy fabrics. And that was usually a lot of fun, because then there was a whole different side of Pauline. The office, she was stern, and we used to shout and yell, and she was very sweet when we were together. We used to talk about things, and I was very straight. I said, well, we had appointments from morning. We had fabrics to see, laces to see, buttons to see, and we used to go to all those little streets and walk up 4 flights to see ribbons and buttons and so on. And then at one point, she said, oh, now I've had it. Let's stop and let's just do this and that. I said, but we came here for that. I was so straight. She said, no, it's all right. We did a lot of it, but we didn't have to do too much of it because it was also the simply the inspiration, the stimulation of being in another place and coming back with a wonderful clear head to work another season and to buy all those beautiful things and design things for me. To get out of New York, to get out of this pressure cooker.
When did it become not pleasant?
Well, I think it was also very pleasant as long as Sioma was there, because he was always an element that really appreciated all the things we did. He could see everything we did. When we had rehearsals, when the model came up, he saw immediately that there was a new dart or a new thing. He had a feeling for it, and he used to talk about it. And it was nice to be appreciated. After he left, things changed.
Let's go back. Let's stop for a minute. Let's go back. Let's take it back to 1951 when you came in with your portfolio into 57th Street.
Yeah.
Describe the place. You didn't get in that day.
Yes, I only went into the peace goods room.
Okay. Was Sioma there?
I don't remember.
When was the first time you remember him?
When I started working there, which was like a few days later or a week later. And he was always very, very sweet to me, very nice.
What was the setup of the place? Each person has an office. How did it look?
There was one office, which was quite nice. They had like, the showroom was lovely too, with windows on 57th Street, and it had like bamboo furniture and green and white plaid linen covers. Very nice. There was an office that was quite beautiful. I think it had a lot of built-in, beautiful wood drawers and so on. And then there was a workroom that was not too big, and also a peace goods room with a nasty woman by the name of Margie. Margie, who gave me a very hard time because my English wasn't perfect.
Well, neither were her bosses English, were they?
Well, I don't know, but I used to go, at once instead of saying pure silk, I said poor silk. Well, she really made fun of me. Whatever, she was nasty.
You mean Sioma and Pauline had the same office?
I think they shared an office. It wasn't such a big a place.
So what did you
But
observe
it was a nice
about
office.
whose job was... What did Sioma do? What did it look to you that he was doing?
It seems to me that he wasn't there all the time. She was there all the time.
Well, what was he doing? Going out and...
He was probably traveling with the collection and making outside appointments and things. I wasn't there for a long time. I was there just for a few months in that place because we moved in 52.
You remember the move?
I remember the move.
You were part of the move?
No, I don't remember any details. I just know that we went to this place and I was in another place. I don't think I actually moved anything from here to there. I didn't see the movers, no.
So what year was it that you moved
52,
to?
I think.
So 1 year there, and then you went to 557th Avenue.
Yeah. And that we also, we had a space where we worked, Pauline and I, but it was like she had an office, but I didn't. I was in the middle of everything. And I asked for like 4 years, and finally they made me an office. They made a partition, they made that office that I had next to Pauline, which was a fantastic achievement. I finally had an office. And so I just sketched them, and she draped them. We made a lot of things. It was very exciting. And we went to see all the fabrics together, and Bianchini, Lesure, we had appointments everywhere. It was wonderful. Wonderful.
Tell me now
And
about...
I also remember that at that point there used to come people all the time from the magazines, from Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, and they wanted our dresses, our knits, they wanted them, and they were so thrilled to get anything. It was just terrific, and people called all the time for ads, and it was really alive.
This is the mid-50s.
This is the mid-50s.
This is what I observed in the
It was
files. The
absolutely
mid-50s were very strong.
fantastic.
Okay. What was Sioma? Tell me about Sioma.
But Sioma was there. He was always very elegant. Thierry au quatre pains. He wore beautiful tailor-made suits, beautiful shirts, silk handkerchiefs. And he always looked wonderful, and he was in that front office. And I really didn't have a lot to do with him. I was mostly in the workroom.
Did you see them interacting?
Not much. No.
Something in 1953 happened, from the papers that I have, where he was very angry. Like perhaps Pauline was trying to ask him to get out.
Did she want Jean-Pierre at this point?
I don't know. But he was angry and he said Julio's in her life at this point.
Julio arrived.
And
That's
Julio,
what happened.
And Julio wanted him out, is what the letters that Xioma's writing,
Yeah.
the notebooks.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything?
No. I had absolutely no idea what went on at this point.
So she didn't make you her confidant?
No, not at all. I was totally out.
That's interesting, don't you think?
No, but she never told me anything about Julio either. I mean, that's not...
But it's interesting that she was able to keep that separate.
Yeah.
That's a certain amount of discipline that's required to do that.
And only later, I mean, I haven't thought about it for years, did I hear that Julio apparently tried to get you out. But who told me that? I don't even know. I'm sure it's not her. Somebody did. Maybe that's probably why he moved. Because first it was Julio and then it was Jean-Pierre. And then he decided to, that's it, he had it. And he moved out, it was cool.
Well, he always used to speak about how she treated him with tremendous disrespect.
You know, I never noticed it. I did notice it a lot with Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre treating him with disrespect.
No, only treated Jean-Pierre with disrespect.
Why would you think that you would notice with Jean-Pierre but not with Xioma?
Because I wasn't aware.
Because you were older?
Simply because I wasn't aware. I must have been very wrapped up in my own life. I had small children, and I don't think I was aware of it.
Who was taking care of your children while you were working?
I had Mary for 13 years, the same one, which means that I didn't have to worry about it.
She came in every day?
She was there, she lived there, she slept there.
In your home?
I couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I tell you something, I was not aware. When I was younger, I wasn't aware of many things that were wrong. I'm much more aware now. If I wasn't interested very much in something, it just passed me over.
Okay.
I wasn't observing too much of this person.
Well, did you used to go to Xioma's house?
Yes, I did. Xioma invited us to some very lovely parties.
How far back are we going now?
We are going back to... It must have been the end of the 50s and the 60s. Especially...
Is this before Gun?
Before Gun, I only remember a birthday party. Your birthday party on Madison Avenue. I remember that. I remember this tremendous apartment with a very long hall. And I remember Jackie Simon being there and her children. And I remember being very surprised because I thought she was a very pretty woman, that her children were so ugly. They both had big noses. And I remember reflecting that she probably had her nose done, but that it won't do because it comes out in the children and that the noses will have to be done again. I remember that very well. I also remember you coming to 57th Street and you had this, what did you call her? Mumu, Mimi?
Meme?
Meme? This old Meme. She seemed very old to me, this Meme.
I was probably on my way from France
Yeah,
through New York, going off to Argentina.
that's right.
So I was about 3.
Yeah, you were adorable and you were this Meme.
In a letter I read, Xioma says that he had to the child did not remember me when he went to visit in the south of France. So presumably the child did not remember him very much when he showed up. So it was really getting to know each other.
Right.
Did Xioma used to refer to his child when she wasn't around?
Not that I remember.
So in the office it was business.
It was strictly business. It was always strictly business. It was like night and day in the office and out of the office.
And did they shout at each other?
I never heard them shout.
Did Sioma used to leave instructions in writing on everybody's desks?
Shoma used to write little papers. He loved to write little papers.
Were they annoying?
No. He just had that habit of writing little papers.
Instructions?
No observations, but I think they annoyed Pauline.
Do you think they annoyed the other people?
I don't know if he did it with all the other people. I don't know. All I know is for me it was great. He used to see all the wonderful things we did. He used to always talk about books. He used to bring me books. I just loved. And he even gave, I think once a friend of mine came and she remembers he gave her a book too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd forgotten it. And I was at this party, and then when he married Boone.
So tell me, wait a minute, what about the party? I want to hear about the party.
The birthday party?
How was the cake?
I have no idea. I have no idea. There were lots of little kids, and
why were you invited if there were lots of little kids? Did you have little kids?
I don't know
No.
why. I went there with a friend of mine. He must have said, well, maybe I said I'll be in the neighborhood, pop by. I don't think I stayed all the time. I just popped in and went. But I do remember the birthday party.
So what was it? Were there lots of children?
Yeah, there were lots of children. And, but I was only like once in this apartment. But later on, I went more often.
So tell me about when he started a relationship with Gun. Gun didn't work for too long there, did she?
She worked there as a model.
How long?
Maybe a year.
Yeah, not too long.
Mm-hmm.
How did it seem to people that he had picked a model to a young woman?
Nothing. As far as I remember, nobody was shocked.
It's a remarkable spread in age. I know people used to sort of say things about that.
I don't remember anything that people said. It didn't bother me, per se. I did know that, I think she did have a husband. She had to get divorced or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. She was married to an American. And then I remember their parties because they were lovely. They used to have somebody playing the harp.
Yeah.
They had Blumenfeld, the photographer, they had other people, they had Swedish people. It was always charmingly done.
Was I ever there?
Yeah. They had wonderful food. You had a room there.
Yeah.
I know. And they had a lovely kitchen, a funny one. It was very nice.
And by this time, were you going to Pauline's for parties?
By this time, yeah, by this time she used to invite us to the country. In the beginning, when she bought the turtle out of stew, everybody came and everybody was working like at the pool and things had to be done. And Julia was directing the operations. And she got young people together.
What did you think of Julia? What did it seem to... Did you get
Julia
an
was
impression?
always very, in German you say oberflächlich. Very shallow to me. He seemed like a very shallow man. I could never hold a conversation with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't improved greatly. I think last time he was here was the first time he was up at the office and Pauline wasn't there and we sat down for a minute and he told me about his family and how much he cares about his nephews and his numerous aunts, nephews, nieces. And I had a feeling, my God, maybe there is something there. He likes his family, he likes these people. Because I never had a chance to really talk to him. I always knew, Pauline, let's go! They came here for a couple of times for dinner, I would fall asleep after dinner.
Do you think that she was happy with him?
Yes, I think so, because she probably didn't have a need for having a man around every single day. Because she was very strong and self-sufficient. She had a fantastic life. She was invited everywhere and met people left and right. And it was nice for her to have an escort, sure. To share that with him. But if he wasn't around, she went right on. I don't think she missed him.
At this point in her life, she's very alone. At an earlier time, with all her entertainment and all her parties, you think that that was really sufficient for her? How about sex?
I suppose that there must have been some good sex.
Somewhere
With
here and
him.
there. Oh,
No, with
but he
him.
wasn't there all the time.
No, but when it was, I guess it was okay.
And you think that was enough?
No, she probably saw other people too, because she's a very gregarious person.
Yeah.
I'm sure that she did whatever she felt like doing.
Uh-huh.
She had no
But there was nobody else that you could point to and say, "Ah, this is her friend."
No. I mean, she had wonderful friends. She was very close to.
No, I don't mean like that.
No.
I know that they broke up soon after my marriage. Yeah. For a while, he wasn't around.
Maybe he had somebody.
I don't know. And then they got together again. You don't remember this?
It's possible, but then she used to go to Argentina at some point and come back. But I don't know. She never really confided in me much.
So what do you feel that you know about the Trigers, having been there for 40-odd
Well,
years?
I tell you something. One thing I know, that they're very honest people. All of them. Incredibly honest and incredibly, really, when they say something, when they promise something, they stick to it. It's not fly by night. And when I was sick 5 years ago, and I was out there for 2-3 months, they paid me. They didn't say one word. They were very nice. And they've been like this all their lives. Considering that. Very honorable people. Pauline, I think she's upset because she would hate to go out of business and owe anybody anything. You know? It's for her a terrible thing. Like the American people, they do that every 2 minutes. They just don't give a damn. They go into chapter whatever, 7-Eleven, and that's it. But she would hate it. For some reason she can't do it.
Do you remember when they hired Beverly Valdez?
Yes.
Whose idea was that?
Well, Beverly Valdez, these things happen that these people show up. Like Boone came up to see us, to see if we needed models, and we liked them, we hired them. And Beverly Valdez most likely came up too, and she was black and she was beautiful, and Pauline hired her. And it was probably one of the first to hire her. But she didn't even have real black features.
No.
You remember her?
I remember. I remember that Sioma said that he was the one who hired her.
That's very possible.
I have, in my repertoire of memories, a lot of competition between Sioma and Pauline. Mixed messages.
Mm-hmm.
One, be dressed beautifully for your aunt when you go to the office. My presentation to her was very important. Did you write her thank you note?
Yeah.
You know, this kind of thing. So there was tremendous respect. And the other message that was not direct was competition and envy. This was, I'm not getting my recognition for things. This is Sioma speaking, so to speak. So now I think about it, I'm thinking, was he delusional? This is his problem? Or is it really so? And I wonder if you had observed any of this.
Absolutely, because I felt the same way.
So tell me about that.
I felt the same way now for years, and that I wasn't getting a fair share of recognition for what I did.
So you mean there's only one person who does anything
That's right.
there?
But
There's
then she told me that, but I forgot to tell you. When I started working for her, she really said it in so many words. She said, in this place there's only one prima donna, and that's me. In these words, she said.
Why did you never leave? Were you happy enough?
Well, first of all, I loved what I was doing. And number two, I had a family. I had 2 kids, and I wasn't going to go out and look for other jobs. This was fine. So whatever happened, I took it in stride. I was very unhappy at this point, because I really wanted to have Lucie Porges for Trigger or Pauline for years. It just really rankled not to ever happen. And then one day, that was another funny thing. That was like 1980. The New York Times photographed a coat of mine. I have it here. that I designed with that tailor that we have. That Pauline didn't put. Usually, when I do something, she refit it or change something, and it's her. She said, without me, it couldn't live, couldn't be done. But I don't know enough. But this coat, I really designed it with this tailor, and the New York Times photographed it, and they made a full-page editorial. And they called me. They always called me to find out where's the fabric from, which store is it. And I was so thrilled that I said, oh yeah, this coat is a reversible coat from Garrigue or whatever. It's $560, and I designed it. It's Lucie Porges for Porges. I said, she can't say anything. I did design the coat. She didn't touch it with her hands. This came out on a Sunday.
What year was
You
this?
want to see it?
Yeah. What year was this?
1980. And I was thrilled to pieces. She called me. And after that, she tore me to pieces. How could you do such a thing? What does it mean? Lucie Porges for Porges. Porges is Porges. We work together. It's we. It's not you. And since that time, anybody who says Lucie did or Lucie, it's us. It's we. And since that time, that's when she started not trusting me. It really changed. It's like I undercut her or something.
I think they were both. They're both of them, very irrational people.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard to have logical discussions about something. They're very opinionated. I asked one person, pick one word to describe my father in terms of personality. She said, stubborn. An old friend. Stubborn. He had an opinion, you couldn't budge him from that. I think she's like this too.
She calls me stubborn. She tells me, you are the most stubborn person I ever met.
And the answer
Projection.
is, you should know. Who else should know? But, like, they didn't have mechanisms for collaboration.
That doesn't exist.
It's,
It still doesn't exist.
Sioma feels that he needed, that there's a paranoid streak to them both.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And whatever, if you take a little bit away from me, you've taken a lot away
Yeah.
from me. He needed recognition, and I felt that when I called her on the fact that she hadn't mentioned my father at FIT, I was playing his game still.
Mm-hmm.
I was his daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and I often feel that the fact that I exist is a nuisance to her, because she needed to be rid of him on some level, and she'd like to be able to remake history the way she wants. And I find myself starting to think like him, that he felt that she had remade history and had, this is him speaking now, had not given him credit for the fact that he had started the business back in Paris. This is the way he felt that it had really happened.
Yeah.
And that the business end was him. On the other hand, the accent. She said, oh, that was an affectation I picked up when I was 14, and it just stuck with me. She's very...
Because that's what I remember, the accent.
She said it's an affectation.
Funny. She still has it. Yeah.
So what were you saying now?
I said he was romantic.
He was not such a good businessman because he was romantic.
Well, he
Tell me about that.
He kind of didn't fit into that. When you saw him, when you met him, you think, my God, this man should be teaching literature or something like that. Something with books, poetry, anything. What is he doing on 7th Avenue? He always talked about books, carried books around in his pockets, was very sweet, loved beautiful things, loved beautiful women, and it was charming, absolutely charming.
So he didn't give the impression that he was handling the business?
No.
And do you think he wasn't?
I couldn't tell, because at this point I didn't know. We had some salespeople. We had a very good production man. Things seemed to be working all right. He used to travel with the collection. People liked him a lot. He sold in the showroom to all these buyers that came. They loved working with him.
Now I asked Anne Adam, I said,
Yeah.
what was essential when you would go in to buy?
Mm-hmm.
Was the sales staff or the people who saw you important in your decisions about what you would get? She said, absolutely not. I would see the collection, I knew what I wanted, and I would come in and just tell them what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
But there were clearly other people that you actually sold. You had to sell them things.
Yeah. That you influenced.
Yes.
Yes.
So did he have his group of clients?
I'm sure he did.
But you don't really know that.
Well, there's still one woman, I think, who used to work only with him. Her name is Jones, I believe, and she comes from Texas. And she used to work strictly with him, and she still comes in. The last time I worked with her, and she's a very insecure lady. She kind of has to be told what to buy. And she says, well, what do you think? Should I take it in blue? Should I take it in white? What do you think? What do you think? You know. So there are people like that. Some are very decisive and some are not. But then they also had personal relationships with Robert and Pauline. I remember they used to go out for dinner after the show. They used to be friends with lots of people. So I'm sure there was a personal relationship with some of them. They used to come in like twice a year and see each other. He used to travel and see all those people in Kansas and Chicago and when he went on the road. And I think, we are the first people who did those trunk shows. Those trunk shows that are being done now everywhere, all the time, every 2 minutes. When Trigère did them, Sioma started that. Nobody else did them. It was a fantastic thing. They were waiting for you. They were just delighted to have you.
I have the feeling that if I could get to the towns where he showed up,
Yeah.
I'd get a lot of articles, not about Pauline so much, but about him.
I'm sure there were some.
I saw some, so I was there must be tons.
Well, there are some. I mean, we have books from all these years. They're packed away. I showed you there was one book, a recent book that I made. But through the years, the models, when they were not busy, used to do that. Cut out all the articles and...
But those were New York papers.
No, not at all. From all over the country.
So they would be sent to you.
They are sent to us because we had a press clipping service.
Right, I remember.
And they just sent all those 10 times, 15 times the same thing.
Where
because
are these books?
they're packed at Trigère.
Oh, I want to see them.
We packed them like the years. I have them by years. They're up there somewhere from 1950 to 1960. And they're all those books with all the out-of-town shows. And some of them, I'm sure, the old ones, he is in it quite a bit.
I need to see this.
But those were the shows, like, as I say, Cleveland, Pittsburgh.
That's exactly what I want to see.
Well, you have to just get the books down and go through them.
What are they waiting for? What is their ultimate resting place, these books, you think?
Well, if you want to come tomorrow, I mean, tomorrow Pauline isn't going to be there. She's going to the country. The guys can get them down for you. We packed them. I don't think she took them to the country. I'm not sure. She took a lot of things because we didn't have enough space. I think they're there somewhere. They're those long, elongated books, and some of the articles are all yellow and falling off. I fixed some of them with double tape as much as I could. There are loads of them.
Well, what's going to happen to these books?
These we still have.
What do you think is going to happen to them?
Give them away to somebody else, but I don't know if people are really interested because some articles are repeated, some things are interesting. They're not very interesting, those out-of-town articles. They're usually minor editors and the pictures are already all gone by now. It's not of great interest.
I'll come back and look at them.
It's not of great interest. And Pauline's going to say, why are you looking at them? What for? The pictures that I have in my file that I showed you are much more exciting. It's like the core of things that I kept, like originals. Because once they're printed in the newspaper, they get yellow and they disappear.
What do you think is going to happen to that core collection there?
Possibly go to FIT or someplace.
I went to FIT. I looked at their version.
Yeah, what do they have?
Very little.
For Trigère.
Very little.
I know, because
I was shocked.
I tell you why, because we hardly worked with them. Pauline taught, I think, one season.
I looked to see what kind of material is available on Pauline that's not vertical files
Mm-hmm.
and not books. There's one interview in 1977 with a Robert
I was
Greene.
there, yeah.
Who is this Robert Greene?
Robert Greene was some kind of a fashion personality.
Okay.
I remember that one.
Was it a good interview?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They have that, and they have precious little else.
I know.
I said, she taught courses here.
Yeah.
You have a record of this kind of thing. Not unless it was filmed, her class.
It wasn't.
So I looked up Adele Simpson, just to see, by contrast. They didn't have that much on her either.
No.
But they had a class of hers.
Filmed?
That was filmed.
Well, Pauline's I don't think was filmed.
No, it wasn't. There was an exhibit on Adele Simpson that had no book made for it, so there's nothing to look at, but there's a record that there was an exhibit. And the same thing for Pauline, but I think it was probably...
That was very recent. That was the...
Jubilee.
Yeah.
Right. So I was really very surprised by how little material they had there.
Yeah.
I thought it was unbelievable.
No, they have very little there. And that Parsons, she didn't work at all.
At Parsons.
No. At Parsons, somehow they wanted more prestigious designers, younger
It
designers.
occurred to me when I asked you, why is she sending all this stuff to Kent State, for goodness sakes? Why?
Because they wanted her.
Well, not only they wanted her, but what Anna Adam told me this morning made it click. She said, Pauline really thought about what the American wealthy middle-class woman would want. She made for them and she sold to them. So she wasn't, this is Anne Adams speaking, she wasn't really selling to the real with-it set of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So in a curious sense, New York is not Pauline's town.
Mm-mm.
And so I think that there's perhaps an estrangement with New York.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't good enough to me. I'm going to leave my stuff elsewhere, to the center of America that bought from me.
Yeah, I don't think she gave it any thought. It just so happened, and they wanted it, and they got it. It's true that New York, first of all, New York is fickle. There are all these socialites. Many of them came to us. For instance, we dressed Mrs. Kissinger 10 years ago. We dressed Mrs. Rubikoff. And all these people, suddenly they got new houses. They became friends with Oscar de la Renta and Bill Blas, which they constantly see socially. So they wear their clothes.
Tell me about Pauline's relationship to the other designers. Do you have...
To the other designers, I think she likes Bill Blas. She admires Geoffrey Bean. She's envious of Oscar de la Renta because he has those people that she sees all the time, the Shaws, and they tell her how much they sell, and it just makes her crazy. And the other designers...
How come they got to be friends?
Because they live very close to her in the country, and they've been very nice driving her back and forth, because in the last few years she doesn't drive anymore, and so they became closer friends. When you're neighbors, it changes. It wasn't really her kind of caliber, but that's the reason they became friends. And all those New York socialites, they constantly change. They'll wear Trigé and be crazy about it like one season, and then they move. They want something else. They've had enough of it. Unless there's one particular thing that they see and they love, and then they'll call up and they must have it. But they're fickle. Also, lately, people do not get dressed by one designer. They buy one here and one there. It's more interesting. And they put things together.
It's a different time.
It's a different time, except for that writer who lately, for the last 5 or 6 years, has bought a lot of Pauline's clothes.
Who's that?
Bradford Taylor.
Yeah.
Barbara Bradford Taylor, who is not a chic woman, who is a sweet woman, but she's getting heavier all the time. When she started out with us, she was a 12, now she's like a 14. And she came and she ordered an awful lot of clothes, really a whole wardrobe, because she writes books, and every year she has press conferences and presentations, and she goes to Europe and the Frankfurt Book Fair, and she has to be very well dressed. And Pauline made her clothes from morning till night that hang together. That was very nice. But she also told her constantly to lose weight. And she kind of started making her things too tight, and the woman wanted bigger things. But Pauline said, no, you got to lose weight, etc., etc. So now she doesn't come anymore. There were women that she wouldn't touch in her heydays. There's this woman, this socialite, Mrs. Leeds. You don't even know her. Jean-Pierre, she used to love Jean-Pierre. I think she went out a couple of times with him. And she used to be at all those fashion affairs, etc. Pauline didn't even look at her. Now she became a great friend and she's making clothes for her. But now she'll do anything because business is so bad. You're happy anybody who comes and orders anything. It's changed so much.
I see her calling up
Yeah,
to get drum up business, to
Yeah.
find out why someone's not paying.
yeah.
This is something she always used to do.
Never. Pauline,
Don't people think it's strange?
well, Jean-Pierre isn't doing it.
Now tell me about the relationship there.
Right now it's terrible. I mean, it's just,
Well, when was it good?
I don't really know.
I know that when he joined the firm, it must have been, how long has he been there now?
Well, when Sioma left, when did he leave for California?
73?
I don't know. I'm very bad with dates
74.
at this point. That's when he came in. Or he
It's
came in.
earlier, too.
Yes, and then he left and then he came back.
One of those times, I don't know if it was the early one or the second one, he wrote a proposal,
Who did?
Jean-Pierre,
Yes?
and I saw it. And don't ask me how I saw it. And it seemed like a reasonable proposal. It was a young man with good ideas and aware of the difficulties of joining a family business. And he sort of saw how he saw everybody's role. His, yours, he's speaking to his mother. And at Sioma's, he speaks in extremely disparaging way.
Really?
And he says, we have to keep him away from the book. And he likes to do sales, so let him do sales. Like that. And then there's a letter that he wrote to Sioma, which was much more appropriately respectful, about how they should all work together and stuff like that. And I feel for him because he really, as much as he thought he knew what working in a family business was going to be like, it was much worse than he imagined. In this particular case.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think that he became, I propose that he took on in the mythology of the business the role that Sioma had. Everything that he
became the
did not
buffer.
want to be and was mocking or
Yes.
disparaging, in fact, she just transferred how she saw Sioma right onto him. I don't know. I'm suggesting.
Somehow.
Somehow.
Yeah, some of it, definitely.
I don't think this is a person who thinks you can respect your son or your niece if he's doing something that you know nothing about.
Exactly,
Like
yeah.
or professor of Russian.
Yeah.
But if they're going to be working with you, you immediately lose all respect for them, really, because you know too much about what they're doing or what they're not doing well enough. And so the proximity makes her disrespect him. Whereas if he'd been somebody strange who came in like Shaw and said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. If it'd been somebody
Sure,
she might have listened.
that was her biggest mistake, not to take a real good organizer and somebody who could. She doesn't even understand the word merchandising. We talked about it today.
What Julio was trying to do was to get rid of the brother and put in a strong merchandising.
So why did you put in Jean-Pierre? That was silly. The thing is that I tried to explain to her today what merchandising is, and she doesn't understand it. She told me there was an article about Calvin Klein where he rearranged his business. He was owing a lot of money, and now he sold part of his underwear business to Linda Wachner for $65 million, and she's going to carry that as a license. And I said, that's terrific merchandising. And then I said, the other one who does terrific merchandising is Ralph Lauren. And she says, that's not the same thing at all. He does everything himself, for himself. I said, Pauline, I didn't say whether it was licensing out or doing your own product. I said merchandising. Each one is very good in merchandising. Each one has a very good man or person who does it with him. It's she doesn't understand it. She said, that is totally different, she said. Calvin Klein has good licenses and Ralph Lauren makes everything himself. I said, yeah, but the whole umbrella is merchandising. Doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Do you? a point of view, producing, merchandising the whole global thing. And there's nobody ever did that.
Who used to do her publicity stuff?
We had different people. We had Louis Offland for a while, but that was more like public relation. We had another firm who did it for a while, but nobody did it for a long time because she just disrespected everybody. She said, I can do better than they. I can do better than this one. She always put everybody down. It was like, by putting everybody down, she put herself up.
Well, does this include Sioma?
Of course, and me. And everybody else around her.
You, of course, and everybody else, of course. Sioma was the older brother.
Yeah.
It's a little different. He was also bringing her up.
Yeah.
Teaching her what to read and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were there after, you never heard of Lazare. Was Lazare a contractor for Porges?
I don't think so. Well, it was before my time. I wouldn't know. That's possible. I don't know. Lucille is there longer than I am. She might know.
She told me next week or something, it's 50 years.
Oh. Well, she remembers. No, I don't know anything about Lazare, except that he was just totally dismissed. It's like he didn't exist.
Pauline's boys, you watched them grow up?
Yeah. I remember Philip being a little roly-poly, and Pauline just couldn't stand it. Like she also can't stand that Karen is a roly-poly. And she sent him to Dr. Jacobson, and he put him on a very strict diet.
Jacobson is a diet doctor.
Yeah. She sent me there too when I had a bad cold. And I got these wonderful shots. I felt great. I was full of Dexamil. He gave me Dexamil. And he gave me some shots. I don't know what. Some speed, I think. Anyway, Philip went there and was on a very strict diet and became very thin and has stayed like that all his life. Jean-Pierre I saw very little. Jean-Pierre was at MIT.
When you came, he was already at MIT?
Yeah, and I never saw him. And I saw him just when he came to the business, but he never talked very much. Jean-Pierre can go months without saying a word to me, except what we really need to say. And
what kind of things does he really need to say to you? In the business?
Nothing. I probably have talked to him about some things. He doesn't tell me anything at all, ever. He doesn't come to me.
Well, when he started in the business, you remember this now. This is very recently.
Yeah.
1974, say. How did he move in? How did he?
Very easily.
Did you have to start having different kind of meetings, business meetings, all of you?
No. That we tried to do that much, much later in the last 6 years or so. And people said, you really should sit together and discuss. We did every once in a while to discuss the ads, because we used to do like 6 ads every year, joined with other people, and then we had to discuss it because I usually took care of the photography and taking it and the styling and everything. But we had to discuss which styles would be good, who bought this, who bought that, and what is interesting enough to be photographed. So we did do that once in a while, but very rarely, because Pauline always found that was a loss of time. Pauline always thought when you sit down and talk to somebody about things at Porges, it's like a waste of time. Just do, and everything else is going to be all right. You have to do all the time, work, don't stop.
Has she told you that she now regrets and that she takes responsibility for what's happened?
What do you mean?
How it's not the way she wanted it to be.
No, she has told me that she never knew how bad it was, that for the last 4 years she's been trying to put all her money in and save the business, but until then she did not realize, nobody ever told her how bad it was, how much money they lost, how much money there was. She never knows. She still, till today, keeps telling me, I've been asking Jean-Pierre and he doesn't give me the figures. And I say, well, how come? I just can't get an answer. I just can't get an answer. He won't tell me. Nobody will tell me. Like poor Pauline, nobody tells her what's what. It's like she never realized, why didn't Jean-Pierre tell me 4 years ago how bad it was? Why didn't he tell me 3 years ago? I remember periodically she used to meet Caron and come back to the office, our banker. He used to be our banker there. They kept lending us money. And she said, Mr. Caron said, we have too much overhead. I have too many people here. Whom can I let go? But she was very upset because she didn't want to let anybody go. And she said, should I let this one go? Should I let that one go? And finally, they didn't really let anybody go until very late. Because he always said, you're spending too much money, you have too much overhead.
Which bank is that?
That used to be the chemical.
Switch banks?
He switched. He went from chemical somewhere else, and then they took the account away from him because he was too lenient. He kept lending us more and more money. And apparently he and Jean-Pierre worked together, and Jean-Pierre never told her that we borrowed so much. But I tell you the truth, I think it really started getting bad when your father moved out.
But that's the same time.
Well, no, that was before. That's when it started being difficult, because sums of cash had to be paid out to him every month,
Oh, yes.
every 3 months.
Right.
He was a partner and he was being bought out,
Right.
and that's when it started being difficult, because I think that's when Jean-Pierre started borrowing from the bank to fill up. And I think
I got
that's...
a message from Julio once.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, in a conversation.
I'm just putting two and two together because I was never...
He said, well, we wouldn't be in so much trouble if your father hadn't insisted on being paid
Yeah.
his partner. And I looked at him, and only la réponse sur l'escalier, of course, came to me later, which was, why shouldn't he get what he... That's part of their contract. If he
Yes.
goes out, you have to buy him out.
I mean, years ago he'd said that.
No, after the split.
Yeah, but that's when it started getting difficult, because a big chunk of money went out of the business, and probably that's when the borrowing started and continued and got worse, like the state, like the budget.
Right. So there was more reason to blame Sioma for the demise of the business. It's like he brought it down with him, in a way. Yeah, but if it had been properly
He would be there.
bankrolled from the beginning, it wouldn't be a problem.
No, the problem was that none of them had a real plan. It was always done like that. It was very hard work. I mean, Pauline worked terribly hard.
Responsibility as much as hers.
Mm-hmm. But she always, all her life, worked very hard, very long hours, and she loved what she was doing.
Jean-Pierre told me over the phone.
And she had a tremendous vitality.
Yeah, she still does.
Yeah.
Jean-Pierre told me she could retire now.
You mean she has enough money to retire?
I said she could. He said, yeah, of course she could.
Maybe she should.
She says she doesn't have any money.
That's what she keeps saying.
Very peculiar business.
It's a very peculiar business. I mean, they're having a very hard time because I've been there for so long, and they haven't paid me for the last month. They don't have any money. They will. They always did. They always came through, and I trust them, and I don't care as long as I can manage. They haven't paid me for December.
Well, she says she hasn't taken a salary in years.
That's true. But I cannot live without a salary. I would if I could.
Well, her expenses become business expenses.
Sure, I don't have that.
Right.
So they have been paying me slowly, but this month they haven't. Well, I hope they can pay me. Maybe he gets some money in tomorrow. Maybe he gets some money in next week. But they always came through. You know, I don't think they'll stick me in any way.
Ironically, it's just like the business I have.
Really?
You have to wait for the checks to come in.
That's right.
I mean, it's any business.
And it's
like
so slow. People are slower and slower.
because everybody's having trouble.
Yeah, it just goes all the way down the line.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yes, tell me about Cecile.
Well, Cecilia's been gone a long time ago, but she told me once, Pauline used to take her along for weekends, most weekends, not every weekend. And she told me once, you know, Pauline only wants you as long as she can use you. She'll ask you as long as she can use you. Those are the people she wants.
Why did you mention that she took her some weekends and not? What's the connection between that?
Because she felt like she was like not always wanted.
I always thought it was remarkable that there was a room that belonged to her mother. I thought that was very respectful.
I don't know, why did she say that? I'm trying to remember. Maybe she was there every weekend. Why did she tell me that? It's stuck in my mind. That Pauline will only, as long as you're useful to her, she will ask you, otherwise she will discard you.
Can you tell me more about Cecile?
I can tell you, she was a wonderful, funny little old lady. Like Pepe remarked, I was there maybe once or twice for dinner, for a Friday dinner with the boys.
At the grandmother?
At the grandmother, where she prepared the real herring and things like that, and soup. I think she had chicken soup. And she was very sweet, and she used to love watching television, wrestling. And Pepe said she used to sit and say, "No, hit him! No, don't hit him." She used to sit and be just part of the whole program. I don't know when he saw her, but he must have seen it. He's not inventing it. No. She used to just be totally part of whatever was happening on the screen. She was sweet. I liked her. Yeah. But she also, when she came to Porges, she was a little bit, when she came to the business, she was a little bit subdued. And she came once in a while and Pauline made her a dress or a coat or something.
Did they get along, you think?
Well, I think Pauline didn't see her, except for weekends. I think she didn't bother too much with her during the week. I don't know if she called her every day or not. I have no idea. But of course, when she got sick, she did take care of her. She took her to the doctor and everything.
They seemed very devoted to their mother.
Yeah, I think that she very much felt between Sioma and Pauline that Pauline was the stronger one. She adored Sioma and she felt sorry for him, I think.
How did you pick that up?
A feeling. I couldn't tell you any details. But she suffered for him.
I read in letters that my mother found they had an intense dislike that seemed to be reciprocated with Cecile. Without knowing my mother once, do you think Pauline would have liked her?
I don't think so. No.
She was a very attractive woman.
Yes.
Very pretty. And she's very strong.
Yeah.
But she didn't have talents like Pauline had.
Mm-hmm.
She likes, at a party, she likes to be the center of attention.
Your mother.
And she's very vivacious and entertaining. How can you have two people like that in the same living room?
And Sioma probably married her because she was very much vibrant.
She was very intellectually brilliant,
mm-hmm.
But he married her also because she was very pretty and because I think he had this, he likes to save young women. And there was this beautiful young woman who was working and divorced and had 2 children.
Aha. Oh yeah, so he was Le Chevalier.
Yes. And
I never even saw a picture of your mother. Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Jacques Simon said that he used to always refer to me as ma petite fille,
Mm-hmm.
which in French, of course, means
My granddaughter.
But he never used to refer to me by name.
Oh, really?
To her, he would always talk about
Ma petite fille?
Ma petite fille a un rhume, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? And she always thought that was very strange.
Like a grandfather.
Well, you can even call your granddaughter by her name.
Yeah.
And I said, well, perhaps it's because I carry my mother's name.
Oh, it was the same name, Jane.
Yeah.
But they called you Janie.
Still.
Mm-hmm. Why was it the same name?
My name is Pauline Jane.
Oh, it's Pauline Jane. Oh, God, 2 of them.
So I have PJT on all my...
Oh, but nobody ever called you Pauline.
No. So I was named after 2 tremendously powerful... Thank thank you for that. I appreciate the recognition of what a strange thing to do. And as if I just really didn't have my
It's
own
not
identity.
Jane Pauline, it's Pauline Jane.
Yeah.
His sister came first.
Well, it sounds better too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's true.
So Cecile to me is very important.
You don't remember her?
Nothing special.
You saw that picture I gave you today.
Yeah, well, was it to you I was telling this? I saw pictures of my grandmother when she was in her 30s.
Yeah, you did.
And I was all of a sudden
Of
struck.
the resemblance.
10 years ago, I didn't look like that. But now that I've put on this weight and I see myself, I have the same body as this woman. I have this extra, the women in the
30s, 20s, 30s.
They were more fleshy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All of a sudden, I said to Ken, I said, do I look like this person? And he says, yes, actually you do. I said, that's my grandmother. And then all of a sudden, it never before did I look like her in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's remarkable. I would have been curious to see if Sioma would have seen it now.
You stopped this, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, because I want you to say more about Cecile.
Yeah.
Cecile, so Jane didn't like Cecile. Cecile didn't like Jane. That's not hard to understand. Mothers-in-laws, daughters-in-laws, and my mother probably was
Not easy.
not exactly what Cecile would have wanted
For her son. She wasn't a nice Jewish girl.
But her son was 47
Yeah.
and never married.
Well, she probably thought that's it. She has her son forever.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. What was that relationship? You don't know.
I don't know anything about that.
I heard people say that the only person who was sweet and nice to the boys was Cecile.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard other people say she was very difficult and very demanding, and that. Pauline said, I said, how'd you get along with your mother? She said, fine, why? I said, well, did you argue sometimes? She said, well, just like mothers and daughters. Okay. But this is nothing to me.
She says she cannot remember.
Yeah, but what was this person like?
Yeah, I know that she took care of the children.
Who were
Yes.
like this.
Yeah.
What was this person like? This is an interesting person to study.
The mother.
Yeah.
Well, how about the children telling you? Well, Jean-Pierre won't talk. Maybe Philip will tell you. He must remember, I'm sure. I mean, she brought them up in a way because she was there. Pauline was working and she was home.
I asked Pauline, what did your mother do in Paris? What was her work? She said she was a seamstress. For a while she had a shop. Every time she speaks to me, it's a little different, the story. She said, but she didn't work. I said, oh. So when she came to America, she didn't work. She said, well, she didn't work in Paris either. I said, oh. So it was just Alexandre. After Alexandre died, what happened? Well, we had to support her. What did Pauline do? She said, I didn't work.
So
Lazare wouldn't let me. So this means that Sioma was supporting the family, right?
Somebody had to.
So Sioma had a business that was called Trigère Maguet.
Maggie.
M-A. That's why I
yeah.
asked you about Maguet. Spell it for me. Remember you said
Maggie.
M-A-G-G-U-E. Accent aigu.
Maggie. Yeah.
That's how you say it?
M-A-G-U-Y.
Why?
Oh, for
E
years he used to go to Paris and see that guy. I think he was dealing in pictures afterwards. He was a picture dealer. Maggie.
No.
Alex Maggie? No.
They bought a business from somebody named Maguet.
Uh-huh.
He disappeared out of the picture.
Oh.
When they went to America, they sold the business to Léon Hendline.
Oh, I remember Léon, of course.
Léon kept it until 1939 when he left France.
Uh-huh.
2 years later.
And?
And he sold it. I don't know what he did with it. But this was their business. It was Lazare and Sioma.
Oh, and then he came here and he worked for Trigère all his life.
Yeah. But now how did Pauline become anything if she didn't do anything in Paris?
Well, she used to say that she watched what was going on in her father's atelier since she was a little girl. And that's how she learned, by watching. And then when she came to America and she needed to work, she just started working for Hattie Carnegie, she said, and learning at the same time, just plunging in. She worked for Hattie Carnegie for a while, and then she started to do her own thing. Like, she started it all. She didn't go to any school. What she learned, she picked up from her parents who were...
Tell me, with your experience, does this seem really plausible?
Yeah, it's plausible, because she probably watched how some things were done, and she probably knew what she liked. And I think she had this adventurous, risky streak in her, and the vitality and the endurance and the dare to just cut things her own way and put them together and see. I think she did start out doing her own thing. Maybe she, in the beginning, was influenced by some people, but she started cutting her own armholes and her own this, and it seemed to work, and she wore the things herself. And I think it was an evolution from that on.
So it really is a genius.
Oh yes, she's a very, very talented woman. And she always had, like, she would stand there with the fabrics and nothing worked, and say, I have an idea. And she would do something else, and bing, bang, boom, and try it again, and twist it and turn it, and there was something there. And it's really doing it. She learned to do it while she was doing, and that's very important. She just would take a piece of fabric like people would. Me, for instance, I was always have this great respect. Do I cut? Do I not cut? It's so expensive. Well, she'll just take it and cut it and do something with it. Sometimes it was a mess, but she'll do it again. She knew that she could do something with her hands, with her scissors, with her pinning, by looking at the model in the mirror. And from these ideas came other ideas. And of course, the minute she became a little bit more successful, she felt stronger, and she could do her own thing. And then, by buying marvelous things every year, the most beautiful fabrics that she liked, she was inspired by it.
Let's stop.
Yeah.